Hello everyone, and welcome back to Cinemax. Today we are going to explore a film that is not complicated because of dreams within dreams or shifting timelines, but because of the dark, twisted labyrinth of the human soul. The film is Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners from 2013. This is not just a thriller about a missing child. It is a deep, harrowing meditation on how far a good person is willing to go when the system fails, and what happens to that person's soul when they cross lines they never thought they would cross. If you have watched this film and found yourself disturbed, questioning the morality of every single character, and haunted by the grey, rainy atmosphere of that Pennsylvania town, you're in the right place. We are going to walk through this story step by step, examining how the events unfold, why the characters make the choices they make, and ultimately, what the film is trying to tell us about faith, violence, and the nature of evil. Settle in, because this is going to be a heavy but essential journey into the heart of darkness. The film opens not with a crime, but with a prayer. We see Keller Dover in the woods with his teenage son, Ralph. He is teaching his son how to hunt, and he recites the Lord's Prayer softly. This is a crucial moment that establishes the foundational philosophy of Keller's character. He is a man of faith, but it is a very specific type of faith. He believes in being prepared for the worst. His basement is stocked with canned goods, gas masks, and survival gear. He tells his son that the world is full of chaos and that waiting for someone else to save you is a fool's gamble. For Keller, survival is a moral imperative, and action is a form of prayer. This opening scene is the thesis statement for the entire movie. When the catastrophe hits, Keller will not sit and wait. He will act, and his faith will be twisted into a terrifying sense of righteous fury. The next scene shifts to the Thanksgiving gathering. The Dover family arrives at the home of their neighbors and close friends, Franklin and Nancy Birch. The atmosphere is warm, familiar, and filled with the ordinary chaos of family life. We see the two little girls, Anna and Joy, who are practically sisters. They are full of innocent energy, asking if they can go out to play. The families agree with the casual trust that defines suburban life, only asking that the older brother, Ralph, keep an eye on them. After a short while, the girls ask to go back to the Dover house to look for a red emergency whistle that Anna has lost. This seemingly insignificant detail, the search for a whistle that makes a loud noise in case of danger, is a brutal piece of dramatic irony. The girls walk the short distance between the two houses, and that is the last time they are seen. They vanish. The transition from holiday warmth to gut-churning panic is instantaneous. The families search frantically, and the realization that the girls are truly gone sets in. The only clue anyone can remember is that a strange rundown RV was parked on the street earlier, and someone saw the girls playing near it. This brings us to the detective assigned to the case, the emotional anchor on the other side of the law. His name is Detective Loki, played by Jake Gyllenhaal with a twitching, simmering intensity. Loki is a loner, a man with a near 100% case closure rate, but he seems to carry the weight of every unsolved mystery on his shoulders. A subtle but essential detail about Loki's character is his nervous tick of blinking rapidly and his collection of unsolved case files in his sparsely furnished apartment. He is a man who is obsessed with puzzles and haunted by failure. Villeneuve frames Loki in stark, isolated compositions, often with a halo of fluorescent light or stained glass colors behind him, subtly positioning him as a figure of a dark angel or a knight on a doomed quest. Loki represents the rational, procedural approach to evil. He works within the system. But as the film progresses, we watch the system strain to its breaking point. The RV is quickly located, and its driver is arrested. His name is Alex Jones, and when we first meet him, he is trying to flee. He crashes the RV into a tree and is apprehended. Immediately, something is terribly wrong. Alex speaks, but his words are a soft, confused, childlike whisper. He has the mental capacity of a 10-year-old. He cannot even answer basic questions without becoming confused and repeating phrases like, "They didn't cry until I left them." This line, so haunting and ambiguous, is gasoline on the fire of Keller's suspicion. Loki interrogates Alex ruthlessly, looking for any physical evidence that ties him to the missing girls, but the RV is forensically clean. There is no DNA, no fibers, no signs of a struggle. Because of his intellectual disability, the police are legally unable to hold him beyond the standard 48 hours. Loki knows this, and it tears him apart, but he has no choice. Alex is released into the custody of his adoptive aunt, a gaunt, hollow-eyed woman named Holly Jones. The release of Alex is the breaking point for Keller Dover. Outside the police station, in the pouring rain, Keller confronts Alex. He screams at him, demanding to know what happened to his daughter. Alex, in his confused, parrot-like way of speaking, whispers back something that seals his fate. He says, "They didn't cry until I left them." That sentence, originally a reflection of his detachment from reality, is interpreted by Keller as a direct confession of guilt. The system has failed. The monster is walking free, and a man who has spent his entire life preparing for the worst decides that he, and he alone, must extract the truth. This is where the movie takes its terrifying turn from a procedural thriller into a deeply ethical horror film. Keller follows Holly Jones home. He sees Alex sitting alone in the yard. Then, in the dead of night, he ambushes them, knocks Alex unconscious, and drags him to an old abandoned apartment complex that he owns, a place left to rot after his father's death. He seals the windows with plywood, bolts the doors, and chaining Alex to a grimy pipe in a shower room, he begins his descent into the abyss. He tells a panicking Alex, "You're going to tell me where my daughter is, or you're never going to see the light of day again." What makes Prisoners so devastating is that it doesn't let you comfortably root for Keller as a vigilante, nor does it let you simply condemn him. The movie forces you to sit in the uncomfortable grey area. The torture scenes are not stylish or cathartic, they are clumsy, brutal, and sickening. Keller smashes a sink with a hammer to create scalding hot water to burn Alex. He punches him until his own knuckles bleed. He builds a makeshift sweatbox from a shower stall, blasting Alex with freezing water in the winter cold. Every act of violence is met with Alex whimpering and drawing childlike pictures, utterly incapable of giving a coherent confession. The dramatic tension here is built on a horrifying doubt. What if Alex really does know something? But also, what if he doesn't? Keller's friend and the father of the other missing girl, Franklin Birch, eventually discovers what Keller is doing. Franklin is played with a trembling moral conscience by Terrence Howard. He represents the voice of reason and restraint, but he is also paralyzed by his own grief. In a chilling sequence, when Franklin is forced to stand guard over a sobbing, beaten Alex, he can barely stomach it, but his own daughter is also gone, so he says nothing. He becomes an accessory. This is how evil spreads, the film tells us. It is not born from mustache-twirling villains, it is born from desperate people crossing lines 1 inch at a time, and the silence of those who stand by. While Keller is descending into his private dungeon of brutality, Detective Loki is walking a different path. His investigation is methodical, tracking down the seemingly unrelated threads that the film expertly weaves together. Loki discovers that a local sex offender and priest, Father Patrick Dunn, is acting suspiciously. Loki visits the priest's house and finds a grotesque scene. A decomposing, mummified corpse tied to a chair in the basement, with a whistle around its neck. This corpse is the first major breakthrough in understanding the true nature of the evil in this town. When Loki asks the priest who the dead man is, the priest confesses that the man came to him years ago and claimed he was killing children because he was waging a war against God. The priest says he killed the man out of righteous anger, but the key detail is the labyrinth pendant the dead man is wearing, a pendant that matches the one on Alex Jones's jacket. This introduces the central metaphor of the maze. The missing girls are trapped in a labyrinth, both literally and spiritually, and every clue leads deeper into a tangled web of generational trauma. The investigation leads Loki to a truly unnerving suspect, a man named Bob Taylor. Taylor is a reclusive, deeply disturbed individual who hoards boxes of children's clothes and has mazes drawn obsessively all over his walls. When Loki breaks into his house, he finds the floor covered in venomous snakes, a hellish image of chaos. Taylor is not a simple villain. When he is captured, he is revealed to have been a victim himself. He was abducted as a child by the same man that the priest killed, the man waging the war against God. The trauma has completely shattered Bob's mind. He obsessively drew the mazes because, we later learn, the pendant he and Alex wear is a symbol of that monstrous abductor. It represents the labyrinth of psychological damage that abusers leave behind. Bob Taylor's involvement in the current case is a gruesome red herring. He steals the children's clothes because he is stuck in a cycle of reenacting his own trauma. He draws the mazes because he is forever lost inside the labyrinth of his childhood abuse. In a moment of tragic desperation, Taylor steals a gun from a police officer and blows his own head off, taking his secrets with him. The maze drawings on his walls are the signature of a victim, not a killer, but the clock is ticking and this misdirection has cost precious days. The pressure cooker finally explodes back at the abandoned apartment. Keller has been torturing Alex for days and the man is broken. But the truth Keller seeks remains stubbornly out of reach. In a desperate, last-ditch effort, Keller smashes through a wall into an adjacent abandoned room, believing there might be a hidden space where the girls are kept. He finds nothing. At the same time, little Joy Birch is miraculously found. She escapes from her captor, drugged and terrified, running through the streets at night and throwing herself into the arms of a random driver. When Joy is taken to the hospital, the pressure on Keller becomes immense. The police are now actively hunting for Alex Jones, believing him to be the prime suspect in Joy's abduction, not realizing he is Keller's prisoner. And the pressure intensifies when Joy, recovering in the hospital, mumbles the truth in her drug-addled confusion. When Keller's wife Grace whispers to Joy, asking where Anna is, Joy looks at her and says a single sentence that collapses Keller's entire reality. She says, "You were there, Keller. You were there." This is a devastating moment of dramatic irony. Joy is recalling a moment during her captivity when Keller, in his frantic searches, unknowingly visited the house where she was held, standing inches above the hidden pit where the girls were trapped. But Keller, and we the audience, initially misinterpret this. Keller is shattered, thinking Joy is identifying him as the abductor in her confused state. He rushes back to Alex, the boy he has destroyed, to scream at him one final time. He demands to know where Anna is. Broken, bleeding, and barely conscious, Alex Jones finally whispers the tragic truth that shatters Keller's soul. He says, "I'm not Alex." This is the revelation that unravels the entire mystery. The man Keller has been torturing is not the simple, confused young man with the mental age of a child that he appeared to be. He is a kidnapper, but a secondary one, a victim turned perpetrator, and his real name is Barry. The actual Alex Jones was another victim who died years ago. Barry, under the thumb of the real architect of the horror, helped abduct the girls. The identity confusion was the key that Keller's violent, absolutist logic could never unlock. The true architect of the labyrinth is revealed to be Holly Jones, the soft-spoken, elderly aunt who took Alex and Barry in. She is the widow of the man who waged a war against God, the dead man in the priest's basement. After her husband was killed by the priest, Holly continued his work, turning their religious fanaticism into a crusade of abduction and murder. The horror of this reveal is profound. The evil was not hiding in some dark, obvious monster. It was hiding in plain sight, in a grandmotherly figure who brought casseroles to neighbors and spoke in a gentle, trembling voice. When Keller finally understands the truth and arrives at Holly's house, he finds a scene of pure nightmare. Anna, his daughter, is alive but hidden in a deep, dark pit in the backyard. Holly, confronted by her failure and the impending arrival of the police, makes one final monstrous statement. She tells Keller that abducting and killing children is her way of turning parents into demons, making them lose their faith and their humanity. She whispers that he has already lost everything because he tortured an innocent man, meaning in her twisted theology, Keller's soul is already damned. Holly pulls a gun, and a violent struggle ensues. Keller ultimately incapacitates her, but he is severely wounded. In the chaos, he whispers to Holly that he will be waiting, and he drags himself away. Detective Loki, who has been racing against time, pieces the final clues together. The maze pendant, the photographs, the house visits. He realizes that Holly Jones is the center of the web. He speeds to her house, arriving in the dead of night. The house is eerily silent. He finds a hidden underground bunker. He sees Anna's clothes. He sees the photographs of the dead children. He knows he is close to finding Anna, who has been trapped in the pit in the backyard. But before he can find her, he finds Holly Jones, bleeding out from the gunshot wound. She points a gun at him, but he manages to shoot her, mortally wounding her. With Holly dead, Loki is desperate. He runs through the night looking for any sign of Anna or Keller. He searches the property, but the pit where Anna is trapped is covered with a heavy, buried lid, invisible to anyone who doesn't know exactly where to look. The film then cuts to a quiet, bleak scene at the hospital. Keller Dover is missing. His family is broken. Anna is still missing. The police and the public assume Keller is guilty or dead. Loki, who has been demoted or at least psychologically crushed by the case, stands in the freezing winter night outside Holly Jones's house, which is now a cordoned-off crime scene. The rescue crews have left. The place is silent. But Loki is a meticulous man, a man who cannot let go of the loose threads. He notices something. Keller's daughter, Anna, had lost a red emergency whistle at the very beginning of the movie. During the frantic searches, that whistle had never been found. In the quiet of the night, as Loki stands in the snow, he hears a very faint, almost imperceptible sound. It is the sound of a whistle blowing from underground. The camera slowly pushes in on Loki's face, his eyes widening with recognition. He knows. The screen cuts to black. The ending is ambiguous, but the implication is clear. Keller Dover, bleeding and knowing he was dying, had crawled into the very pit where his daughter Anna was hidden to protect her and to be with her. He had the red whistle that Anna had lost on the day she vanished. He was blowing it, signaling that they were both alive under the earth, waiting for someone to listen. The whistle, once a symbol of fear and loss, becomes a symbol of hope and connection in the final moment. So, what does it all mean? Why is the film called Prisoners? The title works on many levels. The most literal level refers to the girls who are physically imprisoned in a hole in the ground. But the true prison is psychological and spiritual. Keller Dover imprisons himself in a dungeon of his own making, both literally in the pit at the end and spiritually through his acts of torture. His moral imprisonment begins the moment he chains Alex Jones to that pipe. He is a prisoner of his rage, his faith, and his certainty. Alex Jones, or Barry, is a prisoner of his own damaged mind and the monstrous family that adopted him. Bob Taylor is a prisoner of his childhood trauma, forever stuck in the maze drawn on his walls. And Detective Loki, for all his skill, is a prisoner of the unsolved case, a man who locks himself away in his apartment with files of the missing. The labyrinth, the recurring symbol throughout the movie, represents the twisted path of trauma and how one evil act spawns another. The original abductor waged a war against God, and that war turned his wife into a monster, twisted two young boys into broken reflections of abuse, drove a priest to murder, and pushed a loving father to become a torturer. The film is a profound meditation on the ripple effects of violence and the fragility of the human soul. It asks the audience a question that has no comfortable answer. If you were in Keller's position, what would you do? And it forces you to acknowledge that the line between righteous vengeance and monstrous cruelty is terrifyingly thin. Thank you for spending this time with us here at Cinemax, walking through the dark, rainy streets and hidden mazes of Prisoners. It is a film that stays with you long after the credits roll, a story about faith, fury, and the desperate search for light in absolute darkness. Hopefully, this deep dive helped you understand the twisted psychology, the intricate plotting, and the emotional power of this modern thriller masterpiece. If you found this breakdown helpful, please smash that like button, subscribe to Cinemax, and let us know in the comments what you would have done if you were standing in Keller Dover's shoes. We will see you in the next video.